Welcome to another video on Python tutorial for beginners, and we will be looking at range function in today's video. Please subscribe to the channel, click the like button and turn on your post on notification so that each time I post a new video, you'll be notified to come check on it. Okay, to start with this lesson, create a folder just like what I have here where your file can be saved. I already did this in our previous video, so I will just go ahead and open this folder in our code editor. I'm using Visual Studio Code from here. To open that folder, I will simply come to where I have this file, click on that, select open folder, and comes to where I have learning Python, the folder I created earlier on, and click on OK. Once that open, I will just create a file to save our code in today's video like this. Can give my file a name. In my case, I will call it range function. Now, any name you are giving your file is okay, but be sure to end it in .py because that is Python extension, and that is also going to instruct your code editor to treat all the code that will be written inside this file as a Python code. So now that I have created a file, let's jump down to what range function is. Since Python range function makes it very easy for us to generate numbers anyhow we want, so let us see example of how to use this range function. This is how the range function is. So we can say for value in range 1 and 5. Okay, so we can go ahead and print value. Now, in our last video, we talked about what a loop is, and we touched what for loops is in detail. If you have not seen that video, go ahead and watch that video. It will be very helpful to you, and from there you'll be able to understand what we are doing here. Absolutely. So we use the for keyword here, and we loop through a range. When we are using range is like telling something in between the range of so this and to this, from this to this. So in our own case in Python, we want to generate number from 1 to 5. So we now said for value in range 1 and 5. So what we are saying is start from number 1 and count till 5. But unfortunately, if you looked at this particular code right now, even when we have instruct Python to count to 5, range function in Python doesn't count the last value. As you can see in the result in the terminal, we have 1 2 3 4. And if you are wondering how I run this code, after writing your code like this in your file, you can go ahead and hit on Ctrl+S to save your work. And once you hit on Ctrl+S, you want to see the result printed out in the output. First thing, you wrap your code on print function. Print function instruct Python to send the result of the code to the terminal. And in order for you to see the result here, you can come here and click on this little icon to run your code. That is on Visual Studio Code, or you can use Ctrl+A5 like this to run your code. And if the screen of your terminal gets filled up and you want to clear the screen, go ahead and type clear like this, or you can right click on the terminal and click on clear like this. It's gonna clear your terminal screen. So the result here comes out to be 1 2 3 4. The 5 is not included, and that is because Python range function, when it is counting, when it is printing the result, it doesn't include the last digit you provided in a range function. So if we want to get the very last digit here of this 5, we need to increase this to 6 instead of 5. And once we do Ctrl+A5, as you can see here, we now have 1 2. Go ahead and clear the screen. You can see we now have 1 2 3 4 5. So that is exactly how to use range to generate a very simple range of numbers. So alright, let us look at another example here. Range number also give us that flexibility of us adding a third argument. What do I mean by third argument in this case? Just say for value. Of course, this value that I'm writing can be anything. This is just a variable that we are giving this. We can decide to say for v in the range, okay, in the range 1 and 11. Remember, it's gonna start from 1, count 1 2 3 4 5 6 and stop at 10 if you with the example we saw earlier on. But this time around, we don't want it to count like that, so we want to give it a third argument, and this third argument we want to include 3 here. So what is Python going to do? Let us see. If we try to print out this value, hit Ctrl S to save your work, Ctrl plus A5 to see the result. Okay, so it's giving us error because we forgot a comma here. So if we print this right now to see the result, okay, as you can see here, we have 1417. Why is this result coming out like this? This is something that I'm going to explain to your understanding, and I really hope that you will understand. Okay, what is happening here now is that this is a variable. As you can see here, once you said for any letter or anything that you are writing, that first letter or anything that you are using to define here turns to be a variable. So what happens here is that all the values in this range is going to be transferred and stored inside this view. So we can do anything inside this view. We can decide to print those values that have been stored in this view. Remember, we talked about variables, and if you are still confused about what variables, I'll go ahead and watch the video about variables. I have a special video about variables, same in the series. Okay, so what Python did here is, because we have added the third party, so Python refused to count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 like what we saw in 1 2 3 4 5 6, counting to 1 to 5 here in this other one. So what Python did now is Python dropped the first value, which is number 1 here, and said I want to go to number 2, but he said, oh wait, this person have given me a third argument, so it is instructing me to use this third value and count this figure. So I'm not permitted again to count it the way I know how I'm supposed to count. So Python will now carry this our argument, which is 3, and add with this one, added with the first result, which is 1, then it now produce 4, as you can see here. So now we have 4. Python will print on the 4 and go back again. Remember that the work of this for loop here is just a way of telling Python, keep repeating the same process, keep repeating the same task until the task that I'm asking you to do is completed. So that's just the work of this for loop here. So Python will go back again and say, is this number above 10? No, it's not above 10. Python will carry the argument, which is 3 in this case, and add it with the down result that we already have, which is 4. And that's exactly how we have this 7. And once Python drop the 7, Python will go back again, carry the 3 again, the argument that we provided, and add with the 7, and that's how we have the 10. And that is where Python stops, because Python cannot print to this number 11. And that is the work of this third argument, and that's how Python interprets it. I hope that you understand this. Okay, now let us look at another example on how we can use range with combining with append method. If you don't know what append method is a method we use in the adding new items to a list. And if you are confused about what I'm saying right now, go ahead and you can pause this video, check the video that is dedicated especially for lists. I explain how to use different methods in adding new elements to a list. We saw append method. So we want to go ahead here and just say numbers. We want to declare an empty list. Remember, we talked about list. That list is just a data structure that starts with square brackets. So anywhere you see any items inside a square bracket, no, you are looking at a list in Python. So here we want to say for value in range 1 and 11, we declare another variable, which is number equals to value. I'm gonna explain this. So what we are basically doing here is that we are saying go through the range of numbers 1 and 10. Now those value 1 2 3 4, push them to this value. Now remember that value turns to be a variable here. Look at this value now is this thing now. So we are now saying for each of these number 1 times it, raise it to power of 2. Remember, we talked about operators in Pythons, and if you have not looked at this video, check the video that we are talking about numbers. You will see how we use different operators in Python. And using double asterisk like this is simply telling Python raise whatsoever is stored inside this value to the power of 2. So what is going to happen here is 1 will be raised to power of 2, and the answer will drop down, and it will go to another 1. 2 will be raised to power of 2, and the answer will be dropped down, and it will keep repeating itself because of this for loop till it gets to to 10. So let us look at what the result is gonna be right now. So once those value has been raised to the power of 2, the result is going to be stored in this number, as you can see here, because this number now is the variable we use. What we are saying is, after working this thing, stored in this variable number. And right now we can call this our list. Remember, this is the list here, and we can call the append to carry all the numbers that Python are finished raising to power of 2, and we want to append them to this particular list right now. So what we can simply do there is dot append this number. In fact, I can just go ahead and just copy this like this and paste here. If I do this, hit on Ctrl S to save my work, Ctrl plus A5. Oh, screen is getting messy, so I just go ahead and clean that up. All right, I will go ahead right now and print this my list to see print numbers, Ctrl plus A5. Now as you can see from here in the terminal, exactly what we expected comes up. Python carried the first number from here, raised it to the power of 2 in this place, stored the result in this number, and we carry this number to append to this list here. Remember, this is a list, this is a fresh list here, and we carry the result and append in this list. After everything, show me how many digits right now among our calculations, everything. Show me what Python have stored inside you, and in this case is this number, and that's the reason we are having 149 and 200. So let us look at how we can use list function to automatically convert the values from range and turn it to list. So instead of us to get the values from range and convert it to list like what we have seen from here, Python provides us with this particular function called list like this, and we can use this to convert the results of values directly from range automatically to list. So let's see how we can use this. In order for us to use this, we can say numbers equals to, then we can say range. Remember that we have been doing this range of 1, 11. Remember, Python is going to stop at 10, and we also give the third argument, which is 2. So instead of us to process these, store the result in the numbers, and use this to convert to list, we can automatically go ahead and use this list function that Python has given us. So if we wrap this around list and go ahead and hit Ctrl S to save, remember, and Ctrl plus A5 to see the result in the terminal, you will see that automatically that the result being converted to list, as you can see the result in the terminal. So anytime you want to use any data type and you want the result to come out in list form at the same time, go ahead and wrap your code around this list function. So that's something I wanted to show us here. So another thing that I also want to show you is what people do a lot of times, and it is called a list comprehension. Alright, so list comprehension is just a short way that I will use and write this same code here that we have in this place. You can say numbers, which is the name of the list, numbers. Okay, so I can open the list because that's the list of numbers we want to do, and I can say here values raised to power 2. Okay, then I can go ahead and say for value in range, for value in range, then I can say range 1 and 11. Okay, like this. So I can say print number, print numbers. Control is, let me comment this out, Control plus A5. Alright, so if you looked at this right now, this is producing the same result with this. If you looked at it, all these things that we wrote, 1 line, 2 line, 3, 4, 5, we use only 2 lines of code to achieve that. So this thing that you are seeing here, you often see in many people's code, and it's called list comprehension, a way of shortening your multiple lines of code into one single line of code. And in this case, what do? I simply looked at the range here. I now said count, ask Python count from 1, 2, 3 and stop at 10. And now after on stopping at 10, and remember that all the result is going to backwardly be stored in this value. As you can see, this value turns to be a variable. So now I now turn around from here and loop on this value. Once you are looping on this value, the result that you have, raise them to power of 2, and that is what you are seeing in this place. So this value here is what you are seeing in this place here. If I change this variable, this is going to be changed, otherwise Python is going to throw us an error. So I now say for this value, raised whatsoever result is inside this value into times 2. And once you are done raising it, go back and push all this code here, everything that is inside this our list, and go ahead and store them inside this our numbers. And that's exactly how I get to print this number, and you are seeing the result in the terminal. So if I go ahead and hit on the Control plus S and Control plus A5, and as you can see here, okay, I will stop the video from here. I hope you like the video. Please subscribe to the channel, click the like button if you find this video helpful. Turn on your post notifications so that each time I post a new video like this one, you will be notified to come check on it. Alright, so with that being said, I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.